Well, it is my indeed a wonderful opportunity to say that, we got a powerful medium that we all know, and our horn we're always going to blow. But what you are, you do so. Today, we're going to hear from Mo. Mo will join us in a moment. You're the co-founder and CEO of Veridooh, and Mo is a quiet individual that usually is a wallflower behind the plants. And we're going to see if we can get him to, get a little bit more personality today. But we'll get back to Mo in a moment. Um, let's continue. Oh, so anyway, this is on. We got the times here, and everybody's joined us. We do these every month, and they're very instructional, and they're open for all of our members around the world. And then also for members, we're going to have our town hall in New York. That'll be at Group M, and we'll have a Group M speaker. And we usually get about 200 members for this in New York. So make sure you're all there and you tell your colleagues in New York to join us. It's always a robust session where we go through opportunities and challenges for the industry. And then we always have some good guest speakers that spend lots of ad money. And please join us if you have any questions. Go to info@dpaaglobal.com or talk to your DPAA representative. Group M has got beautiful offices in the World Trade Center. And please join us. Get there a little bit early because there is always levels of security there, especially when presidential candidates are in town. Thank you, Mr. Blake Kelly. Also in September on the 17th, join us. This is the wonderful sessions that we do in London all the time. They're great interactive sessions. We've been having them at the Sanderson, and it looks like this one's going to be at the Sanderson as well. So you folks that are on here, please join us for that. And these breakfast sessions in the UK also getting about 150 people or so have been great with brands, with agencies, with media owners, data companies. And it's another way to really learn, to grow, celebrate your membership, and raise ourselves professionally and personally, all at the same time. Ged and Ricky and others, I expect to see you there. Ricky from Freeman walks in and he walks out with orders every time. An amazing young man, that Ricky Murray. I don't know how he does it. Just he brings everybody into his circle. And then Tim Aldrin saying, "Indeed, mate." Okay. So please join us, breakfast briefing, and I will be there as well. And I look forward to seeing all my European and London-based friends as well. And then in our continuing series of women's empowerment and digital out of home, or affectionately known as We Do, love that acronym, we're going to have navigating microaggressions. And this is really good as women can navigate microaggressions, which are unintended and small, but still have an impact. And we invite all of our men as well to understand the realities and complexities and the opportunities to really do the right thing in business. So join us on our next webinar for that, September 17th, for our British friends, 3 p.m. Eastern time, 11, and then on the West Coast of New York, get up nice and early, but you all do that anyway at 8 a.m. In fact, if you want to take a scan at the moment, I'll just pause for a few seconds so you can connect right regular. I think, Blake, this is the only one we had the QR code at the moment, right?
We have one also coming up that has a QR code.
Oh, good. All right. So if anybody wants, I'm just going to count to 5. You want to get your phone out and scan that. That would be great. And if you scan that, you also will get an autographed picture of Diane Williams' latest hair color, which she always looks so great and amazing on. So please join us for that. Oh, I see. I think maybe Denise Rothberg get an open share. Well, that's nice. Well, it's better open share than no chair. So join us for that. It's an amazing program. We have our women's subject matter expert that is really so refined, skilled, and we're also going to have a C-level women leader from one of our member companies, a big data research company, which is going to be pretty exciting. And join us for that one as well. Thank you. And then more to come as we empower women around the world. We're going to have our We Do Awards and that takes place at our global summit in New York. If you haven't booked your planes, trains, automobiles, and hotels, that is going to be a big week. The big day starts at breakfast and goes through cocktails. October 15th in New York City. This is the big DPAA summit. We usually get close to 1,000 people. We're going to have some amazing speakers, which we'll talk about in a moment. But sorry, if you go back for a moment, thank you, Blake. You're right on cue, as always. This is going to put your nominations in for the awards for women leaders that you work with. There's going to be a Rising Star Award again, the Unsung Hero, and then Vanguard. So please go to dpaaglobal.com/we-do. I'm going to repeat that once more, dpaaglobal.com/we-dooh, and put in your nominations for your colleagues, your friends, your Romans and countrymen and women as well, please. So do that, and thank you. Okay. Nice to see Dan Schneider. You joined us. Was that Kyra, the wonderful Kyra from Perion now? I just see Kyra, but that could be Kyra. I don't see a last name, but Kyra is kind of like Madonna. There's only one. So I'm hoping that's Kyra. And Nick Costin, Global Out of Home World Travelers, joined us. Please read all of Nick's great newsletters. He details all the events and everything coming up. So this is our summit. Wowee, we're going to have the global head of media for General Motors, the global CEO of the head of sustainability at Omnicom, the head of media at Danone, and much, much more, which we will have a big day, once again, from breakfast through cocktails for our DPAA summit. It'll be October 15th in New York City. If you want to scan the QR code for more information, join us. This is the big day, the big global event for digital out of home, and we look forward to all of you joining us. And it is educational, it is fun, it is inspirational, it is entertaining, it is everything you want in a conference. So please join us, ask our team any questions you may have, and once again, going to be a nice big day over there. So thank you for joining us, and I think we wind it down, Mr. Blake Kelly. Is this the time to go to Mo? Yes. So Mo, as I said, ho, 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 you are what you sow. Give us a great presentation on DOOH. Thank you, Mo.
Thank you, Barry, and thank you for such a great introduction. I'm going to dive straight in, just because I know we've got a bit of time here. Just want to make sure I'm sharing this correctly.
That's good.
All right, fantastic. I can't see my notes, so I'm gonna wing this one today. Thank you for taking the time to be here. My goal in the next 20 minutes is to put the case forward as to why out of home needs to act like a 10% of ad spend channel to become a 10% ad spend channel. And the crux of it is really independent verification today. My name is Mo. I'm the co-founder and co-CEO of Veridooh. A little bit about Veridooh. Our mission is to help grow the out-of-home industry. And we want to do this through three ways. One, making it more automated, more trusted, and making it a more effective channel. So we're real champions of the out-of-home industry. We have a suite of products to create a single ecosystem for all out-of-home stakeholders to really increase revenue and efficiencies for out-of-home. We've got one product called Collaborate, which is quite new. You guys all know us for our independent verification, but we also have an intelligence tool and an auto PCR tool. I'm going to really focus on verification today, but that gives you a little bit of background about what we do. Our independent verification solution can verify across all media buyers all in one place, so digital out-of-home, programmatic, and static. Now, out-of-home has finally broken through the 5% share of ad spend. And I think that gives us all really great reason to celebrate. The industry as a whole has been collaborating to get to this point at the moment. And I think we really should celebrate. But when I look at this graph, it makes me a little bit sad to see that we have such a small percent of ad spend. And what's even a little bit more concerning is that a recent study came out that in the US, it's forecast for out of home to have 2% of ad spend by 2028. And although globally we've broken that 5%, there's concern that we are still losing share of ad spend in some markets, and we really need to look at how do we change this, right? So it keeps on growing compared to online, and we really need to start to think about what are these channels doing that allows them to command more than 10% of an advertiser's share of spend, right? And if out of home wants to reach to that 10%, and I know that that seems a little bit ambitious, I really think we can get there. We need to look at what other channels are doing. And so here I have an illustration. It's not fully comprehensive. I'm sure a lot of you will challenge me on this a lot. The orange ticks are partially available and the green ones are fully available. But what we can see is, and what I'm trying to demonstrate here is that CTV and TV and online really have these standard features that allow advertisers and CMOs to feel really comfortable to put their money there. And so, things that they've got, independent verification, campaign automation, they've got programmatic buying, there's addressable audiences, and there's measurement and reporting. Whereas if you look at the print and out of home and audio, we have some sort of subset of those. We have them in pockets, not in mass adoption. And we really need to learn from the ones that are commanding. I think there is no clear review that if you're CTV and you're getting 23%, or if you're online and you're getting 58% of an advertiser spend, we really need to try to become more like them and not lose sight of our advantages and our strengths, but to really have these standard features in place for advertisers to feel confident to spend more in out of home. Now, where we want to get to that 10%, where do I think we could take it from? If you look at online today, if we shifted $1 out of $10 from online to out of home, the out of home industry will double. So it'll go from 42 billion, which is where it's at today globally, to $84 billion if we just take $1 out of $10 from online. And I'm not saying we should just take it from online. We could take it from CTV and other areas. But there is a clear view about, the number and what we need to do and where we need to shift it from to really get to that 10% mark. Now, online demands 65% of ad spend, and it has a lot of issues. And we hear about these issues day in and day out, yet advertisers are still putting 65% of their spend there. And it gets me thinking, online has these standard features that we talked about before, but it has all these issues, yet it still gets to 65%. And the first question is, does out of home have the same issues? And I think all of us would agree we don't have the same issues, but we're only getting 5% globally. And in the US, it's earmarked for 2% by 2028, yet online has the issues, but has all these features to keep advertisers comfortable. So what I'm suggesting is, how do we highlight these weaknesses that online has and really turn them into strengths for out of home? Let's look at one of the first challenges that that online has. Billions are being fraudulently spent on made for advertising websites. We see this all the time. There was a Forbes debacle recently and it went nuts. Yet, has that money shifted to out of home? My gut feel is not very much of it. And the opportunity for out of home here is to become the most trusted medium and offer certainty that campaigns are being delivered on real sites, not made for advertising websites. And one of the ways I suggest we could do that is through independent verification, right? So if we had independent verification at scale, it'd be a lot easier for us to have these conversations with advertisers and agencies and say, hey, you've got these made for advertising websites that are sucking out money from your brands. We don't have that. And I think it's one thing to say we don't have it, but unless we have independent verification as standard, we won't be able to prove it. So problem one, online has MFA sites, out of home doesn't, but we need to stand up and show this to the advertisers and agencies. Secondly, online has fake impressions and bots. Bots are driving up fraudulent impressions and creating false economies of empty value for advertisers and agencies. Out of home does not have this problem, right? And we can sit here and talk about this until the cows come home, but unless we can give advertisers confidence that an ad play bought is an ad play delivered, and the way we can do that is through independent verification, then bots, whether they're online or not, money's still going to be going from advertisers to online. So two challenges so far for online: MFAs and fake impressions and bots, whereas out of home doesn't have those things. And are we talking about them enough, right? Are we proving this to brands and advertisers? And last but not least, brand safety. Advertisers in the online world are not confident that their ads are appearing in places that are brand safe. And we see this in the media all the time. Whereas out of home doesn't really have these brand safety issues. And once again, I believe there is an opportunity for out of home to really stand up and show and talk about your ad will be delivered in a brand safety and brand safe environment. And so, 3 areas right now, I've highlighted 3 areas that advertisers are very unhappy with for online. We've seen how much money is going into online. We understand how much money needs to move from online to out of home. And, if we're really going to stand up and be transparent, we need independent verification as a standard across the industry to be able to stand up and really make these arguments to advertisers and agencies. I think if we shout about it, but we don't have the infrastructure in place to prove it, then we'll be in a similar situation. So I guess the major realization that we have today is that in order to become a 10% channel, we need to be meeting and exceeding the expectations of advertisers that they have of 10% channels now. Today, we can't wait until we're a 10% channel to then instill the features and the infrastructure required to be a 10% channel. And if we go back to the first slide, I'll just jump back really quickly. This slide here really gives us an indication of what we need to do, the infrastructure that we need to put in place to be a 10% share of ad spend channel before we are a 10% ad spend channel. So I know I'm focusing on an independent verification, but we have a real opportunity because independent verification is available for out of home right now and online day in and day out. There is not a day that goes past that I do not see challenges that online is having, yet the out of home industry is really not capitalizing on that today, and we should. So the major realization. So what is Veridooh doing to help create the conditions for out of home to grow to 10% and beyond? We're really trying to, as I mentioned earlier, to create the infrastructure to allow us to get there. We want to create greater automation, greater trust, and greater effectiveness for all stakeholders. So for media owners, agencies, and clients. And we do that through our product suite, which I mentioned earlier. I'm not going to deep dive into it, but this is what I'm presenting today is really core to our mission as Veridooh, right? We want to create that infrastructure to allow to get out of home ready to be that 10% medium. So what we know is that independent verification increases brand and agency trust and confidence that their media investments are delivering as planned. And you might say, Mo, you're biased. You're the founder of Veridooh. Of course you're going to say that. But recently, the DPAA and Kuchava did a study. And what they found was US brands and agencies believe third-party verification is the most important measurement capability to required to drive out-of-home growth. You know, this came out probably a couple of weeks ago. Veridooh had nothing to do with this, and we were super surprised to see this result. But it really is great to see this sentiment in a study because we hear it all the time. We're hearing it from advertisers. We're hearing it from brands. We've heard it for years. And if we look at what CMOs have been saying over the past few years, and this is not just about out of home, but if we look at what they're saying across every channel, they're saying independent verification is a minimum standard for CMOs and brands to invest more into out of home. And so, you know, one of the limiting factors we believe right now is that without mass adoption and utilization of independent verification across the board in out of home, it is going to be difficult. It's going to be more difficult to get to the 10% than if it was in place. So you've heard my pitch so far about why I think it's important. We've seen a study. We've looked at the challenges that online is having. We've seen the opportunities that out of home has because of these challenges, and we know where to shift the money from. Let's look at Australia as a case study about how this has happened. So Veridooh was launched in Australia in 2019, and since then, Australia has now demands 12.1% share of ad spend of advertisers. I want that to sink in for a second. My presentation to you today is how do we get 10% from share of an ad spend into out of home? And Australia has already done this. We've cracked the 10%. So although 10% sounds super ambitious, we know it can be done. And Australia is sitting at 12.1%. So let's do a bit of a deep dive into Australia and see what's happened in Australia and what has to happen for the world to get to 12.1%. Firstly, in Australia, all out-of-home media owners are on board with independent verification in Australia. There is no doubt about this. There is none that are not on board. It's super simple for media owners, and having this mass adoption by media owners really sets the scene for the industry to grow. Secondly, Veridooh is the preferred partner for major leading group agencies in Australia, and really getting that agency side on board as well has really set the scene. But that can only happen if the media owners are on board and really inching the two closer and closer together. Today, we work with over 160 major out-of-home advertisers, and we verify over 70% of Australia's campaigns. So, you know, there is really mass adoption right now in Australia of verification from the whole industry. So really, if you look at that 12.1%, it really is the whole industry collaborating and all stakeholders coming together. Now, how has this affected revenue or spend or growth in out-of-home? Over the past 5 years, independent verification has had a significant correlation with advertisers increasing their spend in out-of-home in Australia. Over 75% of Veridooh's clients have increased their spend in out-of-home on average since using verification by 60%. Let that soak in for a second. 75% of our top 50 clients have increased their spend since using verification by 60%. It is clear that if we can give advertisers certainty that their campaigns are being delivered, how they booked and paid for them, they will come back and spend more, right? There is no doubt about this, right? So we have a theory, and we've been able to prove this theory by looking at the spend of our clients since they started using us. Secondly, we have helped major advertisers pivot their media strategies to increase spend in out-of-home. Now, here we can see three major clients of ours, and we can see the red line in 2022. This was how much they were increasing their spend in out of home, and all three were decreasing their spend in out of home in 2022. After using independent verification, we've got a FMCG company increasing their spend by 61%. We've got a restaurant group increasing their spend by 49%, and an automotive group increasing their spend by 150%. So prior to understanding the value of independent verification and utilizing it to its fullest, each advertiser was decreasing their spend in out of home, and we've been able to help them shift their media strategies to start spending more in out of home. Not only do we help out of home advertisers spend more in out of home, we also look at advertisers who have either paused or stopped spending in out of home, and we work with agencies and their teams to get them back in. A lot of these clients here paused or stopped because of the lack of transparency and accountability, and we've been able to help them back in to start spending in out of home. Now, if we look at Australia's growth rate year on year, and I do want to compare it back to the percentage that we saw earlier, you know, the US's growth rate is declining for out of home, but if you look at Australia, the average growth rate year on year for the out of home industry post independent verification mass utilization is now sitting at 21%. Prior to independent verification being mass utilized, it was sitting at 10%. And so it is amazing to be able to see when you have an industry who collaborates to create certainty and trust and transparency about how we can affect the industry. And look, I do want to caveat these numbers, this number on the screen right now, is not just down to independent verification. We are a part of the solution. However, the other numbers that I showed you around the growth in our clients, we believe we had a major part in that. So we did our own survey. In 2024, 100% of our clients agree that independent verification has increased their confidence in out of home. And I think this is no longer around the industry just saying out of home is trusted or we are the most trusted. This is about the industry standing up and saying we are trusted and we can prove it, right? Secondly, 100% agree that independent verification is essential for out of home. And from the survey, 35% said they increased their spend in out of home since introducing independent verification. What are some of our clients saying? Advertisers and brands admit that independent verification has led to them increasing ad spend in out of home. So let's read this out for a second. The confidence we gain in out of home from using Veridooh's independent verification solution has helped us increase ad spend in the sector, ensuring that out of home remains a key part of our marketing mix. This is one of our biggest clients in Australia, and they continue year on year to spend more and more in out of home. What are agencies saying? Independent verification adds a layer of accountability in out of home that makes it more attractive for so many of our clients. They better understand the impact of every out of home campaign, empowering them to spend more in the sector. This is John Lynch, the head of trading at OMG Australia. So we have looked at why independent verification is great from an increasing in revenue perspective. What are the other benefits for all the stakeholders? So for media owners, it creates certainty for their clients to spend more in out of home. We see the decrease in need for digital pops, photos, and affidavits, and we give real-time reporting, enabling faster payment for media owners. For all stakeholders, there's a real-time dashboard. There's one-click in-dashboard sharing, and we remove a whole bunch of manual processing and resources. So we are really making it a lot more efficient. For media agencies, they don't have to deal with pops and affidavits anymore. They don't have to collate different pops and reports. They reduce make goods and refunds, and they can really go back to their clients to tell them to come back and spend more. Now, you all probably have a bunch of questions. Our independent verification, we believe in independent verification so much, and that it should be utilized with mass adoption, that there is zero cost and requires zero integration for media owners. All media owners get the verification platform for free. If you're using a CMS that we're already interoperable with, then there's no integration required. And both media agencies and media owners see the same. And we do this because we have so much belief that this is going to grow the out-of-home industry. We want to remove roadblocks to get to that point of mass utilization. In summary, independent verification will deliver incremental revenue at zero cost. So more revenue from existing clients, new revenue from new clients, will increase share versus total ad spend of an advertiser spend, will showcase amazing delivery. Out of home will become a higher value industry, and we will get increased satisfaction and confidence and trust and accountability. And if my final word today is really, the out of home industry has an opportunity to double the global revenue, but it's only if we move forward urgently with the implementation of minimum standards that modern marketers demand. And that means independent verification today. I've been able to show you where we can get this money from. I can show you the challenges these industries are having. I've shown you the minimum standards that are required to put these into place. And I've shown you a case study from Australia for this working. And so I'm going to finish here and open it up for questions, but I really appreciate everyone's time, and I hope I've been able to get my message across to you all. Thank you.
Mo, that was great, Mo. Thank you so much. And Blake, I think we could put us all on the full screen now for the moment. And Mo, thank you for getting up at or staying up at 1:30 in the morning in Australia to take the rest of the world through this. You make a great case for out of home, and you also, of course, make an amazing case for the verification. And we have a couple of questions, but before we get to those, you've made the great case for it. Can you tell us a little bit how media owners and others can work with Veridooh in terms of, without digging down too much into the weeds, what are the logistics? How does it work? And ideally, it's not terribly complicated.
No, exactly. Thank you, Barry. It's really simple. We've got a patented piece of technology called the Smart Creative. Essentially, what that is the creative, and we wrap it with a bunch of code and turn it into a HTML. All that needs to do is play as per a JPEG or an MP4 on your CMS. We're already interoperable with most CMSs. So what that means is it really is about a little bit of testing. We test on an internal panel, we get the tick of approval from you. Then we test on an external panel, get that tick of approval, and that's it. If we're not interoperable with your CMS, then we would go away. Veridooh would go away and do the work with the CMS. It's not the media owner's responsibility, and we'll come back when we're ready to be live for you.
Great, good to hear. And please put your questions in to the which you folks are doing, into the chat area. I see that let's see, Joni from Retail Fluent is in Geopath and Purview independent verification as well. She did say great overview, Mo, and I know we've got some folks from Geopath on this, but how would you react to that?
That's a great question. Veridooh verifies that your campaign has been delivered the way that you booked it. So we're looking at plays, we're looking at share of time, we're looking at exposure time, we're looking at location. We're not looking at audience as Geopath does or Purview. We are complementary to them, and we work with them. So we would overlay that data across the delivery data for you.
Excellent. Thank you. I see Denise. Is that Denise Rothberg? Denise, to everyone, hello. What tools are used for your independent verification pixels? I think you covered that a bit, right?
Yeah, maybe we can get a bit more specific on that question.
Yeah, Denise, are you here? And is that Denise Rothberg, or is it some other Denise? Or have you left? Okay, I'll count 3, 2, 1. Okay, we'll move on. Suzanne LaForgia, live from Dallas. How does this service eliminate POPs? And thank you for coming on, Suzanne.
Over time, we believe it'll eliminate POPs because we're giving full transparency of when a campaign has been delivered. So we can tell you exactly where the play happened. So with POP, I'm assuming is proof of play rather than a posting image. So for digital, no one shares posting images anymore in Australia because you know exactly where your play happened, right? You know exactly on what screen, you know exactly what location. Yeah, over time, we believe it will be eliminated.
Thank you. Ricky Murray, as I always like to say, the superstar. Great intro, Mo. I'm managing Freeman's new Australian network in addition to lots of other stuff. They're running WeWork inside and they're beta testing. Mo, do you also help with demand and selling in any way by your agency breadth of contacts?
We are huge advocates for the out-of-home industry, and we believe our goal is to drive money to the out-of-home industry. That's our goal. So yes, we do help with that, and we've brought new clients into out-of-home, and we do always talk about to our agency partners which media owners are on board and independently verified, and we do see money shifting to media owners that are being independently verified.
All right, so maybe Tim, you could introduce these folks, make sure they've got everybody's email, Ricky and Mo. And let's see, Paul, I don't know who Paul is, just the first name. A very interesting look at what they've done down under at 1:30 in the morning. What role does a landlord or property owner who hires an out-of-home media company to sell ads on its property? So we're talking about when a property, a landowner hires an out-of-home rep, on this property having this push for independent verification, or should we demand our concessionaires provide this? So I think the question is, who actually contracts with Veridooh? Would it be the landowner, the property owner, the representative, the media owner company?
Look, whoever's going to make the decision, I guess, you know, so let's get down to who would make the decision. If you're representing a screen or a bunch of screens and you would like, you know, independent verification for you to be able to sell more, then maybe you'd speak to your landowner. We don't regularly speak to the landowners very much. It's usually the ones representing the screens.
Thank you. Good questions. I see Coop. I don't know if that's Dennis. I don't know who that is necessarily, but what happens when a client runs a...
It's Jason.
Jason, where are you, Jason?
Yeah, hey, Barry.
Oh, there you are. Hi, Jason. You're hidden. Just the name Coop. Look at that. All right. So thank you. What happens when a client runs a campaign across a number of out-of-home owners who use different verification vendors? Seems like not an ideal situation for a client to get, you know, multiple reports. That's a good question. How do we kind of make it easy and somewhat one-stop shopping, Mo?
Everyone should just use Veridooh.
Okay, well, ask a question, you get an answer. There you go. And maybe as a follow-up to that, Mo, what is the unique selling proposition of Veridooh relative to other folks that that may see themselves as competitors? Of course, I'm sure you don't.
Yeah, Veridooh is 100% independent, and this is what CMOs want. And why are we 100% independent? Number one, we collect our own data compared to some other solutions out there who aggregate media owner data and then put it into a dashboard. So let's compare these two. Independent verification is collected independently of media owners. Data aggregation is CMS proof of play data that's plugged into a dashboard, and that's data aggregation. That will get you nowhere. No brands want to pay for that or believe in that. They want independent verification, which is collected independently of the media owners through a smart creative technology.
Excellent. I think I've covered them. We have one question. It just says Florangis. That's the inimitable Paul Florangis, leader of out of home and once a great New York metropolitan area broadcaster. I think I've covered some of the questions. Anything that you would like to know, Mo, from these groups or following up, and anything there?
I think just one last message. The online media industry and other channels are really struggling right now. We see it everywhere. It's time to act now. If we want to really get that share, then we need to act now and capitalize on the challenges they're having, and we need to put the infrastructure in place to be able to stand up and really shine light on the challenges and shine light on the strengths of out of home. But if we don't have that infrastructure in place, then we're going to continue to lose share to other mediums that have that infrastructure. And so I guess I'm asking for a sense of urgency, and the timing is right.
Great, and I would jump on that as well. It is critical that we move in these directions. As you know, DPWA promotes the industry, the innovation, and the digitization, and certainly this is a key component of it. And we are really supportive of our great member Veridooh for driving this, because this is how we do drive to that wonderful 10% solution, which you've outlined there. Mo, thank you. I don't see your partner in crime, Nick Parker, here today, but give him my best. And it's great to see everyone. We'll see you in New York in September, in London in September, and then the big one, New York, October 15th, where we're going to be talking about a lot of the same things that Mo indicated today, the power and strength of this medium, and the need to continue to tell the story and deliver verification. So thank you very much, Mr. Verification.
Thank you, Barry.
Thanks, Barry.